I misunderstood the comment. This comment. Now, for context, I started a new discussion series. If you saw my previous video, that's where it all started. And so in that video, I reacted to a comment that suggested a certain topic for discussion. And apparently I misunderstood the comment. I didn't get it correctly. The person commented, and so I want to address my thoughts, opinion, my view on the actual thing he meant, because apparently what I mentioned in the previous video was not what he meant. So let's get into it. Let's address what I misunderstood. What I understood is basically that there are actual political parties ruling our scene, like inside of our small niche scene. There are like people, on top, like deriving the narratives, or not even like people on top, but like small groups. For instance, like the Loop community within the Loop community, the online scene, like how they have like their Discord battles and so the solo beatboxing scene and everything, and that's what I understood from it. There is now politics, like a clash of like narratives and opinions. But that's not what was meant in the comment. What was actually meant was that beatbox was all about politics. Beatboxing is actually a movement that arrived from political movements, or basically like people that were suppressed, oppressed, socially oppressed. And so, like hip hop was like this whole movement of like going against it, and starting a movement, basically political, like in that regard. And so, like thinking about it right now, I did simplify the whole notion of how beatbox came to be, like basically people just being poor. There was like, like more about it. There were actual politics in there. And what I mean by that is like, or what I understand now more from the comment that Uku mentioned, is basically people being oppressed and not having like the opportunities to do what they wanted to do. And so in that way, they were basically oppressed. Now that I cleared this up, let me give you my take on the whole thing. First of all, I want to agree with the following, and that is that we indeed are moving, quote unquote, from the hip hop spirit, if it's meant in this context, if it's meant from the roots, basically like this political movement, or the oppression, aka, like people being oppressed. And so, people standing up to, that's what's meant with politics, I agree that we are moving away from that. It's not about, people being oppressed anymore. And hence why like doing like political movements or taking political actions to fight the government or whatever, it's not about that. And I completely agree. And now speaking for myself, I also actually I'm happy it's not about that anymore, Like honestly, if it was still about politics, I probably wouldn't engage in the scene. I would probably never engage in the scene. I'll tell you how I got introduced to the scene. In 2012, I originate from Bulgaria. On TV, I saw like a man beatboxing, winning actually like the world championship.
Hello everybody, I'm Skilla.
And for me, it was like fascinating what that man could do back in the day. For some reason, I didn't start though, it didn't give me like, it gave me like a glimpse of what beatbox could be and if maybe I should do it or not. But I decided, I don't know, for some reason, it didn't hook me enough. Maybe I was like still young, I was 12 years old, And so I don't know, I didn't. Then in 2016, I discovered like jerko beats. And so basically it was like doing like those crazy sounds, and for some reason that actually like led me to discover like the beatbox scene, the online beatbox scene, Zero, GBB and stuff, in 2016 when all of that was popping. And so for me, that's like the thing that hooked me into beatbox. It's not like politics, it's not like a movement, it's not me being oppressed, because I cannot speak for everyone. But in Belgium here, I don't really feel oppressed. And I think a lot of people also don't really feel oppressed in other parts around the world. Because, like back in the day in the 80s, when 80s, 70s, whatever, when hip hop was like, a thing, it happened in the US, and in the US, there it was like a very relevant thing where people were actually oppressed. There was like a reason for a political movement. Now beatbox, like 20, 30, 40 years later, maybe even 50, it's completely irrelevant, I think, maybe like in certain parts where people feel oppressed, it makes sense, but otherwise than that, like beatbox, what it used to be, has like a complete different narrative, a complete different story about it, and a complete different objective. And the reason why is because there is a new generation of people who don't really go through the oppression. And so in that regard, I don't really agree that beatbox is always about politics, you know, or always will be. Sure, there are certain values that we keep, you know, because that's like the origin and where it came from. And those are like actually like good values, you know, about community and staying together and having a place to come together. And you know, like those are just general good values that we should keep for the sake of goodness, you know, like why not keep those, you know, like being a community, having like a place to be. But at the same time, you know, beatbox as it is right now has nothing to do with politics. Sure, you can say like, because it comes out of that, it automatically is like politics, but that's in the past, you know, like for instance, like when we go to GBB or like the biggest beatbox events or whatever beatbox event, it's not about, you know, like I cannot like recall going to an event and going with other people and, you know, start to protest or like, I don't know, like share like my political views and what's wrong and what we should fight for together. It's not about that at all, you know? And so that's why, in my opinion, beatbox is not about politics anymore. It used to be, not anymore. And I definitely do value like the values that were the root values, the values from the roots that came to be, you know, that still should be treasured in my opinion, because those are just good values. But other than that, the scene evolved way too much for there to be politics, in my opinion, you know, or have political meaning. And honestly, like Uku also mentioned in the comment that even though people are not consciously doing it, it's still, you know, like a thing. There, I don't agree. And the reason why is because, see, in order to do something and to say that you're doing it with a certain reason, it has to be like intentional, you know? Like you do it with intention, like consciously, you choose for it. You know, like beatboxers who go to nowadays event don't do it for political reasons. Again, they do it for the sake of their other meaning, you know, like having a place to come to, just enjoying like the art of beatbox, battles, competition, you know, entertainment, you name it. And so in that regard, yeah, that's what I think about it. Now, a question that may rise from everything I just mentioned is it possible to go back to the roots more, you know? Is it actually like a possibility for our community to like come together and make it a political movement, or start making it about taking political actions and, I don't know, turning the world into a better place, you know? Is it actually possible? My opinion, you can let me know what you think in the comments down below. In my opinion, it's just not possible. And the reason why it's not possible is because like new communities inside of the community that it used to be have emerged. And in order to turn everything about politics and make it into a political movement again, like you'd have to like acknowledge like current communities. And like, I don't know, I feel like current communities like Loop, online scene, battle scene in general, you know, those are like way too developed. And even within those communities, there are like smaller sub-communities that also have like their own narrative, view, and paths that they are carving away, different directions basically that they're moving towards. And those have nothing to do with politics, at least from my understanding and from my experience. I don't know, when I go to beatbox events, it's never about political movements or quote unquote, the movement towards fighting something, fighting oppression, you name it. Anyways, that's my opinion. Sorry for the misunderstanding, Uku. Uku is also apparently national champion 2024. I'm sorry for not doing my research better. So Uku, 2024 champion, I acknowledge you, bro. Thank you for the comment. If you, not only Uku, but you just in general, you know, like have other topics or suggestions, or please let me know. I will read everything. I do still have ideas in mind for myself, so maybe I'll go first with those. I don't know, still experimenting with this format. I'm really enjoying it. Let's have more talks. Appreciate you. Thanks for sticking. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Take care. All the best. Peace.